I'm very excited for our next panel, which I think will be relevant to so many of you. It focuses on the intricacies of successful influencer brand partnerships and how to stay authentic while successfully working with brands and making deals. So please welcome to the stage influencers Amanda Diaz, Colt Paulsen, and Toni Bravo.
Hello, everyone.
Oh.
So excited to see you guys. I've deep dived on all of your content. I now have parasocial relationships with all three of you. So nice to see you in the flesh. My first three questions are for all three of you, and I'd love to start off with something fun. What was the first, paid partnership you each did, and why did you decide to take it on? Because I feel like that is a moment when you are a full-time content creator, when you sign that first deal, cut that first check. So yeah.
Do you want me to start off?
For it. Go.
Oh my God, so this was 10 years ago, so I'm really trying to rack my brain right now. I can't quite remember the first one, but one of the first, which has been the gift that keeps on giving and has blossomed into such a beautiful partnership, was with Garnier. So many years ago, I had hair up to my waist, and I went into a salon with them. We were doing something, and I told them, why don't we just cut my hair off and do a bob? And they looked at me, and they were like, are you absolutely sure you want to do this? You live in Miami. What are you doing? And we kind of just did this crazy thing together, and it was for their Sleek and Shine line. And I absolutely love the product to this day, and now we've had like a 6-year-long partnership. And it was the beautiful start to a relationship, and it's been so amazing.
Sounds like a lesson in risk-taking, perhaps, but that's maybe another story. Toni, how about you?
Ooh, mine's a little different. So I'm in the beauty space now, but before beauty, I was a roller skater.
Oh, I know.
So at the skate park, one of the biggest things was like helmets and like gear. So my first ever like paid partnership was actually with like a gear brand. And that was really fun. I mean, it was practical at the time, which was really nice. It's funny to look back at that now because it's not a partnership I think I would do today. Yeah. But it worked for the time.
Yeah.
And I think it gave me a really good idea of what it means I had no management at the time. I was looking over these contracts, and I thought it was a really great opportunity for me to kind of learn more about the back end as much as I'm learning about being in front of the camera. So it was a great opportunity, but just very different than what I do now typically.
Yeah, well, I mean, a cool lesson in how content can evolve. I know that we have a roundtable discussion later about like pivoting your niche. So if Toni's story sounds applicable to anyone, you might want to think about joining that one. Colt, how about you?
So mine was when I had just hit 600,000 followers on TikTok, and I had no management. I was just obsessing over the Kardashians, and I got a DM about, it's called Invisaware, which is like jewelry that has like a safety button for women when they're on jogs or something that contacts the police or something. And I was like, OMG, Kim Kardashian just had a stalker issue. Like, this is perfect. I can tie it in to the stalker, even though Kim Kardashian obviously has all the security. But that was my first time. I was like so excited. I didn't even negotiate. It was $500. I was like, I'll do it. It was my first time. I still have it. It's good. It's a good product.
Amazing.
Yes.
I think I want that now.
You do, and you want to run. This comes with pepper spray. Like, it's the whole thing.
Wow, this is a great sales pitch,
Invisaware.
guys.
He's gonna hook you guys up. Well, you'll negotiate
See if
that.
I can get you some sets of stuff. It's been years, but.
Have you ever done a partnership that you regretted taking on? One that either just didn't hit with your followers, maybe the content didn't come out how you thought it would, and if so, why, and what lessons did you take from that experience?
I wouldn't necessarily say one I've regretted. I think obviously there's learning curves when you're starting out in partnerships, and I think really early on, I'm almost 24 now. I started when I was 16, 15 years old, and I think sometimes I would allow brands to almost not allow me to have creative freedom, and I wouldn't really advocate for myself. And ultimately there'd be like a lot of back and forth. And now I just make it really clear to brands that when I'm aligning with someone and doing a partnership, it's really important that they allow me to do what works best for me and my audience. And I think sometimes that could be a little difficult, especially in the beginning, because you don't know how to advocate for yourself. So it's important to do that, because then the partnership just doesn't perform well. It doesn't do well because it doesn't resonate with you or your audience if it's not authentic to you. So I think that's caused sometimes a little bit of discomfort early days. Wouldn't happen now, but.
I don't think that there's been a particular partnership I've regretted. I think something I regretted early on that's become a lesson for me was just taking on way too much. If I were to tell myself like 2 years ago how much I'm taking on now, I would pop a blood vessel. But I have good time management now. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think in the beginning, my whole thing was I have to take this on and this on and this on in order to like create a presence for myself in a way and to create these brand relationships, which is very important. But I think that taught me, I had like a month where I was just doing like entirely too much. And that gave me a really like realistic example of what it could feel like to possibly burn out. And ever since then, I kind of just like learned my lesson in checking in with myself and figuring out what that balance looks like for me, because I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah, love that.
I'm so niche that I don't get the most brand deals, so it's really easy for me to just, it's like organic because they all mostly come to me. But I think the one thing I learned of obsessing over the Kardashians was they used to do everything, and I was the gullible one that was buying every product they were selling that they weren't actually using, and I'm like, shit, I kinda got duped. So when I started being an influencer, I was like, okay, we can't do that. I gotta stay true. I think the only thing is, yeah, just if it's content that you don't really get the full creative, because you know your platform more than anybody and what your audience likes, it's your community. So I hate when it's like a full script and you're just sitting there, just no personality, no nothing. So I think that's just the thing where it's like, ugh, I don't want to do this.
Especially like the corporate verbiage that they sometimes add in, and it just, everyone knows who you are, especially when you have a close relationship with your audience. Like, they're like, girl, you did not say that. Right. Like, come on. That wasn't a brief.
So I'm going off script a little, but obviously I talk to marketers all day, every day about what they're doing with you guys. And something I've been hearing in the past year or so, I'd say, is a lot of, we're not doing briefs the way we used to. We're giving creators so much more freedom. True, false? Are they lying to me?
True.
True.
I
Okay.
think for bigger brands, sometimes it's like, maybe.
If it's
Okay.
more corporate, if it's, yeah.
Yeah, there's differences. I think there are really cool brands that know that it's better to give creators more freedom. And then there are brands that are maybe not traditionally popular on social media. They don't maybe have a bigger social media presence, but they're big in the general or kind of like traditional beauty space. They have a lot of presence there, but you could look at their social media and you're like, okay, they're not.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. It's like maybe they have more red tape. They're a little more old school.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
They're trying, but sometimes it doesn't land.
All right.
You know.
Thank
Doing it
you.
right, Marc Jacobs right now. Has anyone seen Marc Jacobs' TikTok
good.
recently?
We're talking about that at Glossy
Such
too.
a great job.
Amanda, I've got a question for you. Going, like you said, you're going on a decade in this role. So an early adopter.
Old.
No, did you just say you're turning 24?
Yeah, guys, I'm not old
Please
at all.
don't. I will shoo you off the stage. How has the business, though, of negotiating brand deals changed in the time since you started, and how has your perspective on the business of being an influencer changed in that, nearly a decade?
Oh my God, I mean, it's like an entirely different world now. I started on YouTube, so YouTube partnerships back in the day were so different. And I think that, especially in the beginning, and I mentioned this in the beginning also, I just didn't know how to advocate for myself. I didn't know what a fair rate was. I didn't know what people were charging. Guys, I started in like 2015, 2014. Like, this was early days, and I didn't even know what a brand deal was. And I think definitely now, as times have adapted and changed, I think also the market is so much bigger with platforms like TikTok. I think people are definitely consuming a lot and purchasing, and I think budgets are bigger. I definitely think now people have an understanding of like what you should be charging. There's so many resources online, and even people on TikTok that are very transparent about what they're charging or what they should be charging. I also think I didn't have a team in the beginning, and I think having the right team around you is also really important, because they're the ones that are gonna protect you in the good and the bad, and just make sure that you're protected when you're doing partnerships. But I definitely think that there's just so much more opportunity. I think the market is so much more vast, and anyone that wants to do it can really get involved if they want to, because it's just so much more accessible now. And I'm really happy to see so many people starting their content creation journey, because I was so afraid to do it for so long, and it's really beautiful to see that there is really room for everyone now.
Amazing. Colt, you are known to your more than 1 million TikTok followers as gay man with a spray tan.
Self-tan today.
Love.
I also have many personal questions for you later. I need a tutorial. And as of February of this year, you also became Bondi Sands' first ever chief tanning officer. Yeah.
Isn't that iconic?
Yes. Thank
CTO,
you.
I'm an executive.
You are C-suite, baby. Tell us about why this partnership made sense for you, and how do you decide what kind of long-term partnerships to take on? Because that's a big contract.
Yeah, well, this is the biggest deal in my entire life. I think this is the proudest moment I've ever had. And it was, my handle's gay man with a spray tan, so I was very adamant on not working with just any tanning brand or promoting really my tan at all, because I wanted it to be epic. And in April 2023, Bondi Sands launched Technicolor, their new self-tanner, and they had an event hosting, and I got to host the blue carpet. So when I went there, I was like, this is my moment I've been waiting for. One, hosting is my dream. And two, working with a tanning brand, I was like, I have to kill it. This is like my audition. And from that day, it was like the ball just rolled right into it to where like, how can we make this happen? I hosted many events with them, and then this year, the announcement. So I think, why wouldn't I want to be the chief tanning officer of the #1 tanning brand in the world? You know what I mean? Like, that's just like, OMG, I couldn't even dream it. But I think just I stayed true to myself, my content, and my audience, because I've been a massive fan of the brand. Even when I was spray tanning, I would use the eraser to remove the tan. And they're the only self-tanner that I think looks better than a spray tan.
What, just quick, what does it mean to be a CTO at Bondi Sands?
Well, besides always being tan, just hosting events. I got to go to Australia to really learn about the brand. It's an Australian brand. International pop-ups. I host on QVC to sell the product, which that was like dream goal. I know Lisa Renna's here today, so I'm like, she's my QVC icon. But yeah, so it's just a lot of tanning, but a lot of just representing the brand the best way possible.
Amazing. And Toni, we know about the roller skating, but also before you focused on content creation full-time, you worked in social media at Rare Beauty. How has that helped you navigate, doing this on your own full-time, navigating your own brand deals and your own content creation as an independent content creator?
Yeah, I feel like I've lived so many lives. So I was at BuzzFeed before that. I was still a junior in college. I started working at Rare 2 days after I graduated. So it all happened very, very fast. I think both of those backgrounds helped me get a better understanding of what having a social media presence was like. I feel like at Rare, it was more of a step in the door into the beauty space, because when I applied there, I didn't even wear makeup. So it was a very like, I have all this makeup to shoot with, that's just mine. I might as well shoot content with it, and that's where everything started. But at BuzzFeed, I kind of learned more about how to make myself a presence, because at Rare, it was more about making, obviously, the brand a presence. I wasn't like, people recognized me when I worked there because I was on the TikTok all the time, but it was more about the brand, obviously, not me as a brand. But I think what I was able to take from that, I consumed a lot of TikTok. We did a lot of trend reports, and that team is just insane. I love them to this day. I think it was a really great opportunity for me to learn about how the beauty space works. And I met a lot of people within the beauty industry, but I kind of just realized that I had so much makeup in my closet from shooting that I couldn't do anything else with but wear on myself. And that's where my first ever beauty video started, was with a blush.
Did your following start to grow because you were literally physically being seen on Rare's channel?
Not really, actually. I was only there for 6 months. People did start recognizing me from there, but it wasn't like an influx of followers basically from that page until honestly after I left, which is interesting.
And at that point, did you ever imagine that you would become a beauty content creator?
Actually, no. Like makeup and beauty, it was so out in a different world. I was never really, I liked makeup, but not enough to like wear it every day. And now I wear it every single day. But I think it's just funny how things naturally present themselves to you, because it was something I wasn't necessarily gunning for. I kind of just started making videos and posting every single day, which was wild, having a 9 to 5 and being able to post as much as I did. I still don't know how I did that, but I think it was one of those things where it was just like you see an opportunity and you kind of choose whether or not you want to lean into it or not, and I chose to lean into it and it worked out.
Incredible. I'm also someone who didn't necessarily plan to go into beauty, but a very different trajectory. Is there a piece of content that you've created as part of a partnership that you're really proud of, whether it was due to how your followers received it, the creative way you approached it? Maybe it was one of the brands that was like, yeah, there is no brief, or anything else. Feel free to like really give us the details of how that went down, because I feel like, you know, one thing about this industry, and I know that many of you in the room are in this industry, but there's still so much like cloudiness about what really goes on behind the scenes. So I would love for you to sort of like, okay, well that's a first. The cloudiness, they're just, you know, they're just really painting a picture for me. Okay, spotlight is on us, we're fine. Yeah, basically just like feel free to paint a picture for us, because I feel like that's something that like people really want the tea on, if that makes sense.
I think kind of like what Colt was saying about his partnership with Bondi Sands, for example, and just like how there's just certain brands that are really in alignment with who you are, and there's definitely a brand out there for everyone that's in alignment with them. That's how I feel, and I've said this before, and I've worked with a lot of beauty brands that have just been so incredible to work with. I feel like all the Estee and L'Oreal brands are always just so wonderful to work with. I just did a really beautiful partnership with CoverGirl that was really long-term. I was on the board of trustees for their BA CoverGirl contest, something that was really near and dear to my heart, because I remember back in the day when I was starting out, when they launched the CoverGirl like whole thing back in the day, it was so major, and now they were doing with people starting out on their content creation journey. And I remember being in that position and just dreaming about maybe one day being in this place and not truly believing it back then, and to be able to meet the winners and hear their amazing stories about why they have what it takes to be a cover girl, and each and every single one of the girls were just so amazing. That was a partnership I'm really proud of this year, just because I got to spend a whole day with them, give them all the insight, give them any tips and advice, and I sat down with them for like 5 hours, answered all their questions, I met their families, and the content came out so beautiful, but also just having that really intentional time and doing something really meaningful with a beauty brand was very in alignment with me, because I remember being in that position when I was younger. And I think that was like a partnership that I was really proud of, not just because it was like beautifully shot content, but also because it was meaningful and impactful for other people as well.
Love that.
I feel like recently a lot of my content beauty-wise is centered around like inclusivity. And I think a lot of brands that I've worked with within the past year or so have been so amazing at allowing me to have so much creative freedom over the content I create surrounding why these shades are important, including and just being as fully honest as I am. A lot of brands surprisingly have been so cool about it, because if they ask me to be honest, I'm going to be honest. And I've worked with so many amazing brands longer term, like Milk Makeup's been great. I absolutely love Pat McGrath. Obsessed. We all love her. But I think leaning into brands that create products that work well on me, and also skin tones that are darker than me, are a lot, like I make a lot of my content surrounding that. And a lot of brands have been super, super amazing. It's been really cool to even be able to receive samples of products that I can help with consulting wise coming out within the next year or so, and being able to actually feel like I'm creating an impact from a behind the scenes level, not even something that's shown to everybody else, I think has made what I do feel a lot more impactful outside of just like creating beautiful content. So I'd say that's been one of my favorite things. I think the more you're in this space and the more you share about yourself, the more these brands get to know you, and then those relationships that you create, I feel like have just gotten more authentic the more I've been in this space, which I think the hardest part is just starting because you're still figuring yourself out. These brands are still figuring you out. But I think once you kind of create a really good foundation for yourself, you start noticing these authentic relationships so much more, which just makes it so much more fun.
Definitely the relationship part has been my favorite. Working with a lot of brands, but when you actually get to like meet the people behind the brands, it's like, whoa, you're a normal human that's just doing it just like all of us. We're just putting in the work and making things happen. And I think with Bondi, what was so epic for the collaboration was they had all these envisions of how I could help with their brand before I even realized, oh my gosh, yeah, I could do that. Or yeah, I've always wanted to do that. Or I think I could be a beneficial asset to the brand. And getting to work with a brand that's like really just no notes. Like I'll send a video and it's like, yeah, okay, you're fine. Yeah, we're good. Like never, I don't think they've ever once been like, we don't like this. Can you change this? Can you do that? So I think just trusting in the creator, but also I am such a part of the brand too, where I think it's an exciting step for brands to maybe take note with Bondi to be like, hire an influencer that's really behind the scenes that gets to experience everything. So when they do speak for the brand, it's actually the brand speaking. I think that's why going to Australia to learn everything was like the funnest experience ever. Because you're really like, whoa, this brand started somewhere 10 years ago and now it's this massive deal. So I think getting involved and like you obviously want to work with brands that you're obsessed with. So I think that's the easy part too, but just collaborating as much as possible.
I love that. I don't know how much of the previous panel you guys heard, but we were talking a little bit about, you know, some of the challenges that creators face and the ways that their careers evolve over time. What are some of the challenges or the biggest challenge that each of you is currently facing? I know you guys are at different parts of your careers and, you know, maybe focus on different platforms. What's something that is on each of your minds right now?
I think I'm really hard on myself, and I think we can all maybe agree to some level, but I think I'm trying to not be so hard on myself. And I think that Toni had mentioned this, that sometimes you take a lot on and you don't know how to pace yourself and you get really overwhelmed. I come from a background where I moved as a political refugee really young to the States, and I saw my parents work so hard, and money was really tight growing up. And, you know, sometimes when you're in this position, there's so many amazing opportunities that come forth and you kind of want to take everything on. And I think I'm starting to kind of give myself a little more time to be present and off my phone, and also pace myself and do things that are really in alignment and really meaningful, rather than taking everything that comes by, even though you're excited and you love the brand. Just giving yourself time to rest and recharge and like do that, because if not, you burn out and then you kind of run out of ideas and you feel like you've kind of hit a wall. Because I think that regenerative time is really important for me, because that's when my ideas come about. And I'm in a place in my career also where content creation is obviously something that's so important to me, but I have other projects that I'm also really passionate about and working towards. So just trying to manage that and finding the time of work-life balance, and also giving myself time to rest.
Totally.
I think I totally agree. I was going to mention time management. I think when you become your own like boss, it's a really exciting time, but I think you learn so much about yourself so quickly. And it's kind of like, I feel like when I started getting into the flow of things, it kind of gave me whiplash, because I was like, I love taking things on, and I think I'm a very ambitious person, but then there's never enough hours in the day. There's never enough time to do this, and this. And you kind of realize so quickly that you kind of have to be just as gracious as you are excited about all these opportunities that you have, because I feel like it's so easy to just get caught up in everything. We work in a very fast-paced industry, so it's really easy to feel like if you're not catching up to this, you're gonna slip behind, you're gonna do this. But I feel like one of the hardest things for me earlier on was finding that balance between doing this and also having a life outside of this.
And I don't know if you feel this way, but I think with our job, we don't clock into a 9 to 5, so it looks a little different for us. And I think that with this job, since we don't have set hours, I almost feel like I can never quite turn it off. Like I feel like I'm constantly, my brain is always racking up with ideas. I'm constantly thinking about the next thing, being on top of trends. I feel like I'm always on my phone, like trying to figure out what's, you know, going on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Snapchat. There's so many platforms now that we're constantly trying to stay on top of. So finding that time to kind of balance out and maybe turn it off, tune it out for a little bit, and give yourself that time is really important. But yeah, it's not a traditional job. And also, since we're our own bosses, who knows what'll happen tomorrow? Like, you don't have a set salary. You don't know what your next, 6 months is gonna look like. So it's different.
Mine is the niche of it all. I started with such a specific niche where my content was only Kardashian. Like, I didn't talk about one other thing. I made everything related to them. And it kind of wired my brain to like not think other content was important or people would like to watch it. And just my handle alone, Gaming with a Spray Tan, is what the partnership with Bondi Sands came from, because I would talk about tanning, but I never would promote it. So now it's like, okay, this is content, that's content. Like, I should be vlogging today, but I'm like, there's no Kardashian on the panel other than me, so how can I vlog it? So I think that's where my head is. It's like rewiring it, that content is everywhere, and you just gotta like have fun again. So.
Amazing.
And I'm sure people watch your Kardashian content, but also tune in for you and
I
seeing
hope
you
so.
for who you are.
I think they'd love to hear your advice today. I mean, come on. And speaking of advice, would love to just hear from all of you a bit of same words of wisdom from each of you who are killing it in your careers. What would you say to people, also in this audience, content creators at all different stages of their own journeys on any element of this, like you guys said, very multifaceted job?
I think, as corny as it sounds, no dream is too big. And I truly believe that. And I think as long as you're consistent and passionate about it and you feel like it's authentic to you, you can truly accomplish anything, and don't give up. It took me so many years to get to this place now, and I had all the odds stacked against me, and somehow I'm here, and it's a really beautiful thing. And I think that any of you can accomplish whatever it is you want to do. So
I have a mentee right now through 2028's summer school program.
Oh, yeah.
And we talk a lot about, I've audited accounts. I've done a bunch of, it's so fun. I love it. I love looking into everybody's different lives on the internet and providing a different perspective. But I think something that's always been a key piece of advice is I think it's really important that you inject your identity into your content, because otherwise it feels very hollow. I think there's a lot of content that anybody could make, but the one thing I think you have different than everybody else is just yourself. And I think that becomes so easy for us to forget, because you are yourself. You're like, oh, well, duh. Someone else would think of that. No, they wouldn't. Like, there's so many different instances where you could be on the brink of something really, really great, but you kind of dismiss it because it's familiar to you, but it's not familiar to anybody else. So I think involving your identity and who you are, no matter what kind of content, whatever niche it is very important and will always set you apart.
And stay positive with your content. I know it's so easy to just jump on the hate train, or like if someone's like talking about someone online and it's the number one topic and you just want to get those views, it's like maybe take a step back, see if it works for you. And I think also your journey is your journey. Like, there's no other creator that's going to be you or compare. So do not compare to others. I remember when I was first coming up, I'd be like, they got more followers than me. I got to post 30 videos today. Like, I was like, it's just going too fast for them. I need to do something else. But once I just like stopped, it was like, whoop, okay, now I'm like doing way better in follower count than the people I was comparing myself to, because the focus was always the followers and not your audience that is watching the videos. So, and just have fun. It's literally just social media. Who knows if it'll be here tomorrow? Who knows when the government's just gonna shut everything down and we're all screwed? So just have fun while it lasts.
And everyone's journey looks really different. It's never going to be similar to anyone else's. So the timing will happen when it's meant to, when it's your time, and just be patient and give it your all. And I'm sure it'll happen. And because there was, like you said, there was so many moments where I was like, why isn't this happening to me? And I'm so happy everything worked out the way it did, because it was just meant to happen the way that it did, weirdly enough.
Also, you have no idea what brands are watching your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like Bondi was on me before I even knew anything. Like their Technicolor launch, like I was on their radar. So it's like, you want to have the content that a brand will watch, that'd be like, okay, we like this, and you never want to change it, because who knows if they're like, okay, I don't like we were going to work with them, but now they're going a whole other way. So, and always try new stuff. Have fun with it.
I mean, creating 30 videos a day sounds like a really fast way to burn out.
Oh, the burnout I would post it every single day for 2 years, nonstop. I'd be working at Bloomingdale's and I wouldn't even work in my shift. I'd be in the back stock room being like, Kanye West showed up at the birthday party, you guys, this is crazy. So my coworkers were the real OGs, but once it was like, take a breath.
Totally.
You got to, but also post every day, why not? Just don't burn out.
Have fun. Have fun with it, guys. It's honestly such a fun job and such a fun thing to do, and it holds a lot of influence, and you have no idea who might be watching you and looking up to you and feeling inspired by what you're doing. And like even now, some of my friends now, which is so crazy to say, were the people that made me want to get into YouTube. Like Amanda Steele back in the day, like I used to watch her videos all the time, and she's a friend now. And I was like, I got into YouTube because I used to watch her videos back in the day. And it's just crazy. You don't know what kind of impact you might have on someone.
I love that. Thank you guys so much. So many words of wisdom.